Intention over impact doesn't mean intention doesn't matter. Oftentimes when this conversation comes up, it's in the context of a conversation like this. Someone gets hurt and someone goes to explain why they did what they did or why it was unintentional, and they get a response like, I don't care about your intention. When this happens, it's super easy to feel like your experience or your point of view or your side of things is not just being rejected or refused, but completely irrelevant or unimportant. Most of the time when people are saying this, though, it's not because your intention doesn't matter in the grander scheme of things. It's because it doesn't matter to them right now, right in that moment. And most of the time, it's because it can't matter. When we're in pain, when we're in a place of injury, it's incredibly difficult to think clearly and take in information. And most of the time when we do harm against other people or when we hurt other people, we think that if they just understood our perspective and our intention, that their pain would go away. We use words like misunderstanding or overreaction, and we try to put another person's experience of discomfort, pain, or hurt into context that takes it away, that removes it from them. The problem with this is that repair is a process, and that process comes with an order of operations. Something I talk about all the time is this concept of emotional triaging, right? So if you hurt someone, there's a couple things that need to happen. First of all, you need to identify the pain. You need to identify the fact that the person is hurt. Second, you need to diagnose it. What happened? Why are they hurt? What caused them to feel this way? Third, you need to repair it. And the order of these steps is critical, right? You can't diagnose something you haven't identified, and you can't repair something that you haven't diagnosed, that you don't understand. Let me give you an example. So if you got hit by a car and you broke your leg, right? The first thing you would obviously want someone to do is call you an ambulance, get you to the hospital so that you could receive the care that you needed. What would not be helpful is if the driver of the car got out and explained to you exactly how their car came into contact with you and the fact that they didn't mean it. So many times in relationships, this is what we end up doing to each other. And in doing so, we're not able to get our needs met as the person that's been harmed. And we're also not able to get to the point of resolution and repair that allows us to share intention and grow and connect. The other issue with intention first, with this explanatory, expository nature that we treat other people's pain with, is it's often felt and experienced as dismissiveness. And whether we know it or not, a lot of the times we are problematizing the actual upset, not what we've done to contribute to it. We think the problem would be solved if the person stopped being upset, not if we identified the upset, understood it, and worked to repair it so they actually felt better. And when we fail to repair effectively, and when we fail to arrive to other people's pain, we create disconnection. When we place our narrative and experience of a situation over someone's pain, we fail to prioritize them. We leave them feeling unseen, unheard, and unvalued. And a lot of the time that leaves people feeling really, really angry or really, really hurt. But imagine if it worked differently. Imagine that you hurt someone and you saw the pain flash across their face. And you said, oh my God, hey, I'm sorry. What just happened for you? And they explained, hey, actually what you just said to me was really, really uncool, and it made me feel really bad. And then instead of explaining your intention or explaining that it wasn't your intention, you went, oh wow, okay, what about it exactly made you feel that way? Like, was it my tone? Was it the words? Is there something sort of underneath with your stuff that I don't know about? Then maybe they explain it to you and you go, okay, I can see that, that makes sense. And then after they've explained, what would happen if you both talked together and said, hey, you know what? How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? Maybe I don't use words like that again. Maybe I don't speak to you that way around other people in mixed company. Maybe we need to have a better relationship about when you feel uncomfortable. Maybe it's a squeeze of my hand or a pinch of my shoulder so that I know to pay extra attention to you. So when something like that's happened, you're actually interacting with somebody's nervous system, right? You're telling their brain and their body that they're not in danger anymore. This then puts our brain in a place where we're able to take in information. And honestly, this is my favorite part of repair, when people are actually able to connect and move towards a shared and mutual understanding. So then, at the final close, imagine if you said, hey, are you feeling better about this? Do you feel like this is resolved? And they go, yeah, I feel great. And then you said, do you mind if I share my experience of this? I just want you to know a little bit more about where I was coming from, and it would be really important if you could hear me. The likelihood that then your intention matters to that person, not only because they care about you, but because they have the capacity to be interested, will create a feeling where both people are able to feel heard without one person having to be right, one person having to be wrong, person having to be prioritized, and one person having to not be. It It allows people to share in an experience where multiple things can be true at once and don't have to be in conflict with each other. And it allows two people who co-created, repaired, and resolved a conflict to each be able to feel heard and seen and valued in that process. I think a lot of the time we get caught up in stories of who's hurt the most, who started it, who acted out first, who was the doer versus who is the victim. I think with really large, egregious situations, I can understand how that works. But in my experience of relationship, it really boils down to who has the capacity to offer generosity first. Sometimes it's more about who had a really stressful day, who just woke up from a nap, or who just went through a loss in their family. Because the fact of the matter is, regardless of who started it, who prompted it, who's to blame and who's not, which are all, I guess, fine games to play if you want to end up in conflict and friction forever. But regardless of any of those things, the health of the relationship relies and depends on your ability to repair. Because when we're in belonging together, I'm not talking about abusive dynamics, I'm not talking about dynamics that are exploitative. When we're in mutual, reciprocal dynamics, right, what is best for the relationship is what's best for both people. When both people are working towards a felt sense of that co-regulation, of that stability, of that assumption of care, to belong to each other, to be in each other's care, essentially, it makes it a lot easier to say sorry first on some occasions, even when you were the one hurt, or to initiate the conversation. I think this becomes trickier when people feel like their needs or their feelings or their experiences have been ignored, or they feel like they've been abandoned. It can feel humiliating and self-sacrificing to have to say, hi, you hurt me, you know that you hurt me for the 10,000th time. And it can also feel really hard to start a conversation of repair when you've done something wrong, when you feel like everything that you do is wrong. And ultimately, those are deeper issues of connection that have very little to do with the conflict at hand and a lot more to do with how safe each person feels in the relationship, how safe each person feels that the other person truly is holding the best version of themselves. I always like to imagine it like this. When I get upset with a friend or someone I love, I like to imagine that I have a little photo of them as a kindergartner in my wallet. When I'm able to hold on to that vision of them, it makes it a lot easier for me to practice and engage generously, to engage curiously, and to remind myself of why we're both here doing this together. It's because we love each other. It's because we believe our lives are better together. And if we don't believe that, then we have other fish to fry. But I think it's kind of a North Star that more people should orient towards.